What's up, everybody? Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to tour, I hope we take the camera in, Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. I think this is should be interesting. There it is. And they got a moonshine distillery afterwards. That could be real interesting. Alright guys, go with us. This is what the prison looks like coming up to it. And there's obviously some kind of ATV park or something around here because there's side-by-sides everywhere. And Jeeps. This is what it looks like. I think the guy that assassinated Martin Luther King is in here. Let me start that over. No, he's not in here still, but he was in here. James Earl Ray? Who was it killed him? You see how good I am on my history. Wow. There are dangerous conditions ahead, including but not limited to snakes. And possible ghost. So this is the Wardens Office.
That's just going to be down this hall, and then make a right.
Or was the Warden's Office.
In the back of the museum, they play a little 20-minute documentary, a little video, and they play every 30 minutes.
Wonder how the glass got broke.
So it's really good. I think it's even in air conditioning.
Looks spooky. They said they wanted this to be our most pleasant prison experience ever. I hope it's my only prison experience. There seems to be a theme. Broken glass everywhere. Hey, that was an old rap song way back in the day. I'm showing my age. So we're inside the prison. Harsh discipline. Prisoners were beaten until welts appeared. Welts. My daddy used to do that. Then again and again until those blisters were broken. Screams were routinely heard by the townsfolk of nearby Petros. Wow, they slept on their stomachs till the wounds were healed. Whippings were officially outlawed at Brushy in 1965 when the warden declared the act to be inhumane. Wow. Wow. My wife just pointed out something that I didn't realize, but this was the worst of the worst criminals, rapists, murderers. She's reading in the book now, so the worst of the worst. I guess that's why they got beat. I don't know. Another room we're going to. This is the museum. Wow. See that? In the 50s and 60s, the residents of Petros could bring their garments to be laundered for free. And then James Earl Ray worked in the laundry and reportedly grew a watermelon patch that he tended out back. James Earl Ray is the one that assassinated Martin Luther King. I'm not going to bore you with everything here, but this is neat. So it's the inmate mining uniform. You look at that, the convict. I think about sheep's head fishing. That's bad. They have Wi-Fi here. Do you think they had Wi-Fi back in the day? I thought that was funny. We're in a theater room. It's supposed to be telling you all about the... You're supposed to see this and then you can enjoy the rest of the tour. And this is a 20-minute film.
My name is Debbie, and I worked here from 1980 until we closed in 2009. I was one of the first female officers that hired in here when this was an all-male maximum security prison. I also helped to start this museum back here back in 1996 when we turned 100 years old. So I know a lot about the operations and the history of the prison. If you have any questions while you're in here looking around, please ask me and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And let me start off by saying it's good to have a captive audience again because that's what I'm used to working with. That was a joke.
That's funny.
My attempt at humor. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the history of the building that you're in right now. A lot of people will ask when they go to different places, what was this used for and where is this I'm standing now? The reality of it is, with this place being so old, with the exception of the cell blocks, the main dining room, and the laundry where the big heavy equipment's been installed, all this space has been used for a lot of different things over the years. It could have been office space at one time, then when we issued property control at another time. We just used the space for whatever the mission of the prison was and what we needed that space for at any particular time. But the first thing that this room was used for back in the 1930s when this structure was built was for a shower house for the inmates to shower when they came in from working in the coal mines. This room was the black shower house. The room that you came in, the first room over there, was the white shower house. And sadly, the Department of Corrections in the state of Tennessee kept inmates segregated by race and color all the way until 1963 when the Civil Rights Law was enacted. Now, inmates of different races and colors were not allowed to eat together, shower together, or cell together. However, they were allowed to get up and go to work in those coal mines together every day because the state made money out of that. And as it were, that's where most of the violence took place at, was in the coal mines. One thing that I hope you get from your tour today is a little bit better appreciation for people who go into prisons to work every day. I know that from TV programs and so forth that people who work in prisons sometimes get a bad rap and are called, some ugly names and stuff, and that they can't work anywhere else. But it's really a tough job to do, and it's a very mentally challenging job. Hope you get a little bit better appreciation after your tour today. And I also want you to please respect and have some empathy for some of the horrific acts that happened to the inmates here that were mistreated here during the years. I never want to forget that because I hope that we learn lessons from some of that ill treatment of other human beings. That being said, I was telling you about this being a shower house. If you'll look at this ceiling beam up here above your head, you'll notice that this ceiling slants slightly upwards toward the outside of the room. Now there's a row of windows all the way across the back of the room back there behind those black curtains that were kept open 24 hours a day, covered with heavy mesh to prevent escape. And that was so that the steam would naturally roll to the outside of the building without having to have any kind of ventilation system installed in here. The next thing, or the last thing that this room was used for was for Christ Chapel. It was dedicated in the late 1980s to be used for religious services. The benches that you're sitting on right now were donated by volunteers from the community that came in to do services for the inmates. They also had a portable baptismal that sat right there in the center of the room, and the chaplain documented baptizing over 1,000 men there by the time we closed in 2009. If you go outside around the corner of this building, you'll see an archway about in this direction right here. In the enclosure wall around the prison, you'll see an archway back there that's been blocked over. That was actually the entrance and exit in and out of the prison where they took the inmates to work in the mines. You'll see some pictures on the walls of the old man car where they used to ride them up and down. And if you look, you can actually see the cut at the side of the mountain there where the tracks were laid to take them up on that man car. We had, a lot of people ask why we closed the prison. Short answer is money. We had high operating costs because of the age of the facility and just because of the layout of it. It was very manpower heavy. When you go into the cell blocks, we would normally have 4 officers for 180 inmates, and that was because you had to open the cells by turnkey and use the slams. Now it's not unusual to have 1 officer for 180 to 200 inmates at the new prisons. We had 596 inmates housed here. Most of the prisons now have anywhere from 1,800 to 2,500 inmates on a daily basis. We cut down in 2009 from 21 state prisons in the state of Tennessee. We now have only 14. Anybody interested in the paranormal? while you're here today?
Of course.
Okay. So I will tell you that we do have an entity that hangs out in this particular room. He is friendly. He's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, I have been off on family medical leave for a few weeks. This is my first day back, and he is particularly fond of me, so I expect him to be very active today, and he was active in the last session. So y'all can think about that while you're sitting here in the dark watching the movies. Sometimes I see ladies putting their feet up on the benches. I promise you, he has yet to try to bite anybody on the ankles. It hasn't happened. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you anything else about it until after the movie, because a lot of times during the movie, people will feel or sense, and we even have people in a lot of groups that are intuitives, that actually can see or speak with the entities. And I'll come back in afterwards and see if anybody experiences anything.
I knew when I come through that door that they could do anything I want to make. Originally, this prison here was built in 1896. It was made of wood. The prison, it burned, the wood caught fire, burned down, and they built this one, I think, in 1935, 36.
They started quarrying stone and built the walls and built the main penitentiary here. 4 inmates per cell. They run 2 12-hour shifts. 2 men in the mines, 2 men in the cell.
They worked 6 days a week. They got Sunday off. But I remember when I was a young boy, I used to hear them dump the slate. They had approximately 1,100 inmates here that work in the mines.
They had a code tonnage that they had to meet. And if they did not meet their code tonnage, then out on the inner yard there, they had what they called a stropping post.
See, they used to quit these prisoners with a leather strap, about a 1/4 inch thick leather.
They would tie the inmate to the stropping post.
Lay a guy down, pull his bridges down, that was outlawed.
In 66, that's when they had the hostage in the mines. They cut this one inmate's head on, laid him on the coal car and rolled it out and said, there's his head, the rest of it down there.
The early prisons, according to my grandfather, was run by the toe of the shoe and a shotgun. It was a very violent prison. The convicts were very violent toward each other. It wasn't no church.
The first couple of years, it was strict. You had discipline. When I first went to work here in 68, and they stole, robbed, raped. The first stabbing was up on the yard. I worked 32 years at Brushy Mountain State Prison here, right? And I started in 1968, October. They had him killing in the dining room. They stabbed him, and the blood was flying everywhere. Went in the potatoes on the food line, everything. And we got the one done it. Took him, locked him up, took the body out, and cleaned the dining room up, kept beating. So it was pretty vicious killing him.
These people I work with are family. They're my brothers and sisters. I really hated the thought that this was going to close. When the last bus left the prison with all the inmates, then all the guards came out at the end of shift, pulled my car on the basketball court. And I just never dreamed that I'd ever have a free world car on that court. Nobody's here. It's a ghost town.
Kind of eye-opening and spooky. Kids, stay off drugs. Don't go to prison.
So did anybody feel anything during the movie? I'll tell you what I do know about the entity that hangs out in here. From what I've been told and what I've experienced myself, his name is Georgie. He's a young black male from the turn of the century, and he is either autistic or has a very childlike mind. And he interacts with people in here quite often during the movie. A lot of times people experience feeling like somebody is either lightly touching them on the back. See, I told you I can look around and tell when it's happened. People don't know what happened to them until I tell them, and then they're like, I love it.
Okay, what's going on? Did you feel that?
That he does kind of lightly touch or on the back of the neck. And from what I have been told, a lot of times when I'm up here talking, and this is so weird because people tell me the same story over and over, and this is people weeks apart, people from all different parts of the country. They all tell me the same thing. He comes up here and stands next to me while I'm talking, and he bends and puts his hands on his knees and looks at the audience like, are you people paying attention? Are you listening to what she's saying? So there's you a good paranormal story for the day. Two of our most active places are the main dining room up on the 2nd floor, and also the old D block. It's where the old death house was back in the 1890s, where the old D block is right now. And I didn't used to get to say this very often, but you're free to go. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Again, this is a prison bed, and the inmates done cut them a shank out of it, which is a knife, homemade knife, weapon, whatever you want to call it. So it's a hospital record, and it was like smallpox, a lot. Over here, same way, smallpox, or injured. So this officer was killed by inmate in transport. This is, who is it, Paul Dennis Reed? The fast food killer? Byron Low Tax Looper. What did he do? 1 9mm round into the skull of his state senator, Tommy Burks. So he killed Tommy Burks. And we know who James Earl Ray is. Wasn't the meanest one to ever walk down the halls and sleep behind the walls, not by a long shot. So this is the whole, I guess they call it solitary confinement, I don't know, but at one time the space was 6 by 3 by 8, but in 1933 it was increased to 4 by 8 by 10. Wow. Let's go look at the hole. So I guess this is the ones that was increased in size. So sometimes they put them in here for days, weeks, or even months, according to what the warden seemed necessary. They had suspension torture here where they're tied by their thumbs to pulley cords hanging them from the ceilings, toes barely touching the ground for 30 minutes, for up to 30 minutes. Wow. Just way too much footage to put in one episode. So we're going to do 2 and maybe 3 episodes, and I'll link all these together for the prison. And then if and the 3rd episode will probably just be the distillery and the food. So if you don't watch it, you can skip to that one. So thanks for watching, and also I'm thinking about doing the haunted tour there. Would you like to see that? If you do, comment, let me know below. Thanks for watching, guys.
Make them cry. Hey, make them cry.
Can't have a big lighter in here. That's a core stick of dynamite. That's what got me in trouble, guys. Going to the country club, I used dynamite. I used 16 sticks.